They want us divided. They want us to break that family unit. And there's so many families today struggling with their bonds and how close we are, and your siblings live on this side of the country and your mother lives on that side of the country, and we don't live the lifestyle we were intended to live. And the saying, it takes a village to raise a child, didn't come out of nowhere. It's really true. You need your mother and your sister and all of these aunts and uncles to help.
Yeah.
And we've gotten so far away from that. And I am doing complete, 180 with this family and
Right.
returning ourselves to the wild and the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and I love that. I know when we started homeschooling, my son he was just starting second grade, and I was pregnant with my daughter. And my husband was like, "You sure you want to do this? Because you're gonna have a baby and you're gonna start homeschooling at the same time." And I'm like, "Yes, if we're gonna do it, let's just do it." Because I just didn't like the system. It's not like we had this horrible experience, but it was just like you're talking, your mama instinct. I'm like, I don't like what they're teaching. Teacher was great, lovely, lovely woman. I think she thought that I thought she was bad and I didn't. But it's just not the system that I wanted them in. And my husband's cousins, they had 8 kids, and I'm like, well, if she can homeschool 8, I can homeschool one and have a baby at the same time. And gosh, I've just never looked back from it. I cannot imagine making a different decision because we're all so close, and there's an 8-year difference between my son and my daughter, and they're super close. Like, he was just the best big brother ever, and I cannot imagine her not having that on a consistent basis every single day. I mean, when he went off, he went to Ireland for a while to study, and then he bought his own house, and it's been hard because she really loves her brother, and I couldn't imagine doing that to her, at an early age.
No, well, I tell my 17-year-old now, get that number 18 out of your head, because that also is just this made up number
It's a
where
made up number.
bye and you go on your own and you buy your own house. But I explain to him that we're supposed to stay together. Of course, they can, explore and travel and do their thing as they become older teenagers, but you got to keep them close to home, and that's where they belong. And he's got a 3-year-old sister, and you can't just leave, your siblings. You're supposed to stay together. If you look at any mammal in nature, whether they're an elephant, a group of elephants, or whales, you name it. My herd of goats, they don't separate. They don't always get along. The
Hmm.
mom, the babies, and the siblings, and the aunts, but they don't leave. They're together, and that's what you have to do. And you work through these family, issues, and then you're bonded for life, and you're always part of this tribe, and you're close by. So I just, when he moved to the Waldorf school, and he got held back because Waldorf likes, he was always ahead, but he was young, and so they
Oh,
wanted him back just due to his age. And I thought, oh, well, I get another year with him before he goes off to college, Meanwhile, we've thrown college right out the door. We took him
exactly.
home. I'm like, now you're with me forever. Nobody's going to control me or tell me when my kids can and can't leave.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a hard concept. College is a hard concept too. For people they're always asking my daughter, well, what college are you going to? Are you going to go be? Because she loves horses. Like, she lives, breathes everything horses. And she has very specific things she wants to do with them for the rest of her life. And we intend to help, feed that passion continuously and be part of that journey with her, just like we are with my son. And, but people don't quite understand, like, why wouldn't you go to college? I mean, it seems more acceptable now than it used to be, but she gets a lot of kind of feedback. Well, if you're going to do this, how can you make any money on that? How can, all these kind of things. And I feel if the Holy Spirit tells you that's the direction you're supposed to go, then I would suggest you be obedient and go in that direction, because then he will make that happen for you.
Mm-hmm.
And, God has a much bigger plan than, the neighbor next door.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And I think with this homeschooling and, your products and being able to feed our kids, when they're not in somebody else's system, and I even hate to use the word control, but really it is, you get to control, what they're putting in their bodies, what they're listening to, what their mind soaks up. And the food piece is so huge. And I know that's one of the reasons why you created your products, because you went through, that whole mold, illness. And I would love for you to share a little bit about, how you got to that journey and how that's impacted your family.
Sure. Even this morning, I had a conversation with my 17-year-old who's very, very rigid about their food. They take their food everywhere. So he mountain bikes and he races a lot. And he was just at a race and they all camped out and I saw some of the food that he had purchased. And I keep reminding them, just because it says organic or just because it's this does not mean it's healthy. And we have to keep getting back to, our roots of our ancestral foods and making sure, so I'm constantly shoving my prenatal and my wild salmon roe down their mouths. And, it's a constant reminder. And as much as they think they know everything at this age, he's constantly reminded that, yeah, you know what, my mom is right. And maybe, I had some pimple, he told me, he's like, I got a few pimples this weekend because he brought these, organic marshmallows and roasted them and ate, some organic chocolate. And it's like, sometimes they have to fall off, the
Oh,
wagon to say,
totally. Yes.
yeah. And oh, mom's always right. And
Mhm.
so, as far as health and wellness and the foods and our environment, I really have two messages for the world that I believe I'm here for. I have a huge passion for children and animals. And I believe that the majority of the world is suffering from two things. One being toxicities, and the
Oh,
toxicity would be mostly from mold mycotoxins or bacteria in our home. It's water damage, mold, or bacteria, and deficiencies because of those toxins and or not consuming the right foods.
yeah.
So eating nose to tail for years, eating the muscle meat, the rich man's food, whether it's steaks or, whatever you're consuming protein wise, it's really not the right forms of food. Our ancestors ate organs and
Mhm.
that's the poor man's food, or at least thought of today.
That's what they told
So
us.
yes. So, and that's what they wanted us was, dumbed down and sick. And so we're eating the wrong foods because of what they told us. So they've told us that fat's bad. They told us that eggs are bad.